The locals tell stories of the Crimson Shrine. They warn travelers to stay away after midnight. For a supernatural investigator standing at the entrance, those warnings are usually the primary reason to go inside. Cross the threshold, and the environment immediately reacts. The ambient temperature plummets to near freezing. Then the auditory hallucinations begin. A voice whispers directly into the ear, speaking the visitor's name. These phenomena follow the predictable pattern of a localized haunting. You have a designated eerie location, a sudden drop in temperature, and an entity driving off intruders. To him, it looks like a standard job. The investigator has entered a pressurized containment field that was never meant to be breached. His presence is the specific catalyst that initiates the shrine's internal collapse. The entity materializes without warning. A tall, twisted shadow demon looms in the darkness directly behind him, adopting a calculating, predatory posture. Faced with an immediate threat, his instincts take over. He channels a chaotic burst of red lightning to defend himself. Instead of neutralizing the demon, that massive surge of raw energy discharges directly into the surrounding wooden structure of the shrine. To understand why throwing a magical punch at this specific demon was a catastrophic mistake, we need to examine the architecture of the building he just damaged, starting with the exact nature of what it was built to hold. Centuries ago, the original architects of this region faced a unique problem. The shadow entity terrorizing their land operated on biological rules that diverged from typical aggressive spirits. It didn't haunt locations out of territorial anger or unresolved trauma. It actively hunted and consumed human life force as a biological necessity. To this creature, humans were a required food source to sustain its existence. Its predatory intelligence made it particularly dangerous. It hunted using psychological warfare, reading minds, identifying specific victims by name, and anticipating their reactions before moving in for the kill. Because its body consisted entirely of malicious shadow, local warriors quickly realized that traditional weapons and standard banishing rituals simply passed right through it. Lacking a way to kill it, they engineered an alternative method of neutralization. This animated blueprint shows how the ancient builders solved the problem. They constructed the Crimson Shrine as a reinforced, isolated containment cell. If they couldn't execute the entity, they would trap it and starve it out. By pulling the camera back on this diagram to view the local topography, we see the first layer of defense: extreme geographic isolation. They built the cell miles away from the nearest populated village, cutting off the demon's access to human life force. Expanding the view further reveals concentric warning rings radiating from that central dot. These represent the shrine's visual deterrents, specifically the glowing red lanterns. They served as a psychological barrier, ensuring that no wandering humans would accidentally stumble into the area and become a food source. The Crimson Shrine functioned as a self-sustaining starvation chamber, a passive defense system that remained stable as long as the interior remained isolated from outside energy. Which brings us right back to the present-day confrontation. The dark room surrounding our investigator is the failing interior of the original containment system. As he goes on the offensive, throwing rapid punches fueled by intense red lightning, he provides the energy a containment field was built to suppress. The sudden surge overloads the ancient seals, causing them to violently shatter under the pressure. The impact is immediate. With the structural barrier dissolved, the shadow entity absorbs the chaotic energy flooding the room. The emaciated, bound prisoner instantly regains its full strength, regaining its lethal physical form. By responding to the threat with overwhelming power, the investigator inadvertently handed the entity the exact energy source it needed to break its centuries-old bonds. Now the entity operates entirely unrestricted. The architectural safeguards, the geographical isolation, and the psychological deterrents that kept it dormant for generations are dismantled. While it once posed a threat only to the isolated patch of forest surrounding the shrine, it now has an open path to the densely populated villages and cities beyond the tree line. A lack of historical context, paired with an overconfident reliance on force, dismantled hundreds of years of methodical engineering in a matter of seconds. The Crimson Shrine has fallen. The ancient starvation chamber is broken. and the shadow demon is free to consume humanity once again.